NFL Power Rankings. Could the New Orleans Saints have the worst team in the NFL for 2024? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Bench with Bob Jacob Hester, a hatless Jacob Hester. Maybe the first time we've seen Jacob without a hat. Interesting. So, I got a feeling, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be another doomer. World is falling. It is the rapture. It's the end of days. The Saints are the worst team in the NFL. We're going to lose 15 games, whatever. And I have been the one. It's so crazy because I have the Saints. I have Derek Carr, I think is the 17th ranked quarterback is where I had him. I have the Saints in my official schedule prediction or whatever. I believe we had them at 9 wins or maybe 10 wins. One of the two, 9 or 10. Let's say 10. So I have the Saints at 10 wins, 1 win more than last year. I have Derek Carr as the 17th ranked quarterback, and I have had multiple comments since the preseason game saying that I have lost it and that I am too much of a homer and I am too much of a Saints pro guy. That's where we are at in this situation, where Derek Carr being anything above the worst quarterback in the NFL and the Saints being anything above the worst team in the NFL is considered being a like Saints conspiracy truther. It's crazy. They're a middle of the road team. Like, let's just call it for what it is. They're a middle of the road team, and Derek Carr is a middle of the road quarterback. Good news is that can win you the division. James, how do you know that? Because last year, the Saints were a middle of the road team with a middle of the road quarterback, and we won 9 games and tied for the division. Same comment section, mine. I had a comment said, it said that Derek Carr and Dennis Allen together cannot win more than 5 to 7 games. My man, good news. I've got a time machine. It's called last year. We won 9 games, tied for the division. The team has gotten better. Bottom line, coaching staff, total overhaul. Chase Young, we have gotten better. 100%. The offensive line is still ass. Yes. 100%, but the team has gotten better. So if they were worse last year with 9 wins, in what universe does the same team, except for better pieces and spots, like coaching, like pass rusher, in what universe does the same team added positive pieces end up the worst team in the NFL? Like to go from they aren't a playoff team. Okay, I can hear that. To go from they're not going to win the division. Okay, I can hear that. To go from they'll be 8 wins somewhere in there. Okay, sure, I can hear that too. I can hear 7. Sure. If you want to say 7 and 10, I'll listen. But to go all the way to the worst team in the NFL is crazy. Is absolutely nuts. So I'm preparing myself for that in this video. Let's go ahead and let these two gentlemen kick it off.
Ben Kirk. You probably heard us talk about recently, right? That's a guy who makes a lot of great, I think it was Madden for a long time, but
Kirk Ben Kirk, yes. Madden YouTuber, played for the Packers, I think. Has about as much NFL game time as I do. I'm sure as hell sure that Kirk Ben Kirk didn't win multi 3-on-3 flag football championships at the University of Southern Mississippi. I'll tell you that much right now.
But now he's been doing a lot of NCAA videos. That's how I discovered him. He's a former 5-year NFL quarterback. You know, Jake, kind of different journeyman, played for a few different teams, Falcons, Packers, whatever. But does really good work in the content creation space. But he tweeted out that he thinks that the New Orleans Saints might be the worst team in the NFL this year. Now, right. He would go on to say, I forgot about the Patriots, but still the chance is there. Right?
Well, actually, this team's going to be horrible, but...
You see it right there. Forgot the Patriots existed, but still a chance.
Patriots are a good example, okay? Patriots last year were absolutely horrible. Horrible last year. And what did they do? They got worse. They got rid of Matthew Judon. They are getting worse. So that's a team where you're like, man, we were already bad last year, and now we're getting worse. Like, we probably will be the worst team in the NFL. Denver Broncos, same thing. Bad last year, arguably getting worse. There are teams that were already bad last year and are going to be bad this year, have gotten worse. Carolina Panthers, bad last year. Why wouldn't they be bad again, right? Skipping all those teams and taking the Saints. Again, I've said this before. in what universe would someone say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be the worst team in the NFL? And you're going to say, like, how does that matter? What do you mean? Because if the Saints and the Bucs had the same record, the Saints tied for the division. The Bucs won the division on a tiebreaker. The Saints dog walked the Buccaneers at the end of the season. If it wasn't for Derek Carr's shoulder in Green Bay, the Saints have the season the Bucs do. You don't know if they would have beat the Eagles. Come on. Anybody was beating the Eagles with Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. Okay. The point is that you're taking a team that had relative success last year, tying for the division, winning season, amongst a horrific offensive line, a horrific offensive coach staff, amongst all that, amongst a disaster of a season that everyone would agree last year was a disaster, still a winning season. Well, the schedule was easy. Ask the Falcons about that. Okay? So to go, and the reason I bring that up is because it would be insane. It would be insane to look at the Buccaneers and be like, in what world is this team, how could they possibly be one of the worst teams in the NFL or the worst team in the NFL? That's where the Saints are. The Saints are in that same tier and were in that same tier last year as the Buccaneers. Whether you want to say this team has a division win or a division championship, but this team doesn't, whatever. But they're in the same tier. Those teams were in the exact same tier last year. Standings, they were, as close as you can possibly get. 1-1 in head-to-head matchups. Both won on the road. Not much separating those two teams. You can argue like the Bucs maybe a little bit better. You can argue all that stuff. But the point is that they're not in that bottom category. They're not in the bottom like worst team in the NFL category. It's absolutely insane.
Let's not go too crazy here, Kurt. Okay, pump your freaking brakes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, because I get where you're getting at. Most boring team, yeah, maybe right. Most uninteresting, mediocre, 7-10. But to say they are going to be the worst when they will have a defense that I will guarantee will be top 10, has a chance to be top 5 is patently absurd.
T-Bob, you have stolen my heart. I fully expected these two to jump on this bandwagon. I am very happy. I'm very happy with T-Bob right now. I am happiest guy in the world. Because even if you say the offense is garbo, even if you say the offense is boring, you think Derek Carr sucks, you think whatever, Trevor Penning, whatever, the offensive line, whatever, Alvin Kamara, whatever. If you think all that, if you just say the offense will be the exact same as last year, exact same production, you have to admit that this team has at the worst a top 10 defense, just like T-Bob said. And if you have a top 10 defense and a bad offense, you can't be the worst team in the NFL. You cannot be the worst. I'm not saying not a playoff team. I'm not saying losing season. I'm not saying any of that stuff. I'm saying the worst team in the NFL. You cannot be the worst team in the NFL with a top 10 defense or a top 5 defense. Can't happen. This Saints, I didn't realize I was holding a pen right there. I just grabbed it, just started popping off. This Saints stuff, like it's starting to, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because people are mixing up like not a playoff team or boring or mediocre or average or middle of the road. They're mixing all that stuff up and they're going so far. And I don't know. I really don't know what it is because like I was just reading a tweet and that someone was saying that Justin Simmons chose the Falcons because he didn't believe in Dennis Allen as the head coach. My brother in Christ, the Falcons have Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris has just as bad of a head coaching record as Dennis Allen. And what is Dennis Allen with the Saints? 2 games under 500? Something like that? Like, it's just, you know what the Saints kind of remind me of? The Saints kind of remind me of Nickelback. You know how Nickelback for a while there, it was like really cool to hate on Nickelback and to be like, they're the worst band of all time. I'm ripping my eardrums out when their music's on. But then you listen to them and you're like, I mean, this is just like a normal radio poppy band. Like this is just a very normal, there's nothing wrong with this band. And then a few years later, everyone's like, you know what? Actually, Nickelback is sweet. Creed is going through that right now where everyone loves Creed. But for a while, it was like Creed was like kind of a punchline. It was kind of a joke. I feel like the Saints are that with the NFL, where people who don't watch the NFL or people who don't understand the NFL or people who are, slobbering all over their keyboards watching Max Kellerman and Mad Dog Russo and Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless reruns. those people are just like piling on, like, oh, Dennis Allen, Derek Carr's corny, Derek Carr's this, Dennis Allen's this, and they just jump straight to the Saints being the worst team in the NFL. It has been and is blowing my mind.
You are not going to be the worst team. I mean, even last year. Now, what they did last year was incredible to have a top 10 scoring offense and a top 10 scoring defense and be, was it 9-8?
Yes.
That's hard to do, to not be better, right? But no, this is not going to be the worst team in the NFL, Kirk Ben Kirk. They might be the most boring, but they're not the worst, damn it. Okay.
Again, I really don't know that's the part that I think is the joke. Like, that's the part that I think is the punchline. Because to even say they're the most boring, I mean, T-Bob just said it right there, like a top 10 scoring offense, top 10 defense. If you're watching those games, like, those aren't boring games. You know, like, if you want to really get in the weeds about it, a lot of the games were close. Like, you look at, or if you want to say boring, like, let's just take boring. The Lions game is entertaining. Saints go down 21-0. They're getting booed off the field at home. They come back, try and make it a one-score game, whatever. Jacksonville, Foster Moreau duffs one off his hands to lose the game. That one's a close game. The Texans game was a close game. The Colts game was a comeback situation, high-scoring game. The first game, we end up winning by what, a point? Green Bay, we blow a lead. Derek Carr gets hurt. We miss a field goal at the end, still entertaining. The Jameis Winston situation at the end of the year. When you really kind of look at it all, it's like, damn, that was a pretty entertaining season. Like, there was a lot of narratives there. There was a lot of stuff happening. Like, for just a casual fan, if you had to watch all those games, it's like, yeah, that's okay. I have a sneaky suspicion that watching the Carolina Panthers last year was a whole hell of a lot more boring. That team was absolutely trash, never in a game, and besides when they played the Falcons and beat them. But never in a game, never doing anything, just totally pathetic. Patriots, same thing, totally pathetic, never in a game, never winning, never a chance, no one interesting on the field. Like, those teams are actually boring. You know, those teams are the boring teams. I mean, I know a lot of people here are Raiders fans, but when Aiden O'Connell's out there, or whoever, like the Raiders at times can be extremely boring. Right? The Broncos at times can be extremely boring. There are teams. What about the Chargers last year? You think the Chargers last year, when Justin Herbert got hurt and Easton Stick is playing quarterback, or Jake Browning for the Bengals, like, you think those teams are just thrilling to watch? You think the Steelers haven't been fun to watch since Roethlisberger left? Like, it's just it's crazy that the Saints get labeled as this joke, worst team in the NFL, most boring team in the NFL, and all that stuff. I just don't know when it happened. I don't know when everyone had this secret meeting that I wasn't invited to, when they had this secret meeting and agreed, like, let's make the Saints a big punchline.
Okay?
Hopefully.
No, they can't. No, not with that defense. How wrong would the defense have to go for the Saints to literally finish as the worst? The Panthers were the worst team in the NFL. Like, there's no way you can have a top 10 defense and go 3-14.
Yeah.
The offense is not that bad. I don't care what.
I'll let them keep going a little bit because I've been ranting, so I'll let them keep going.
Kind of emotion you have tied up in it. I mean, if anybody disagrees, tell me. But, like, the offense cannot. You can't be that bad.
I just wanted to see you get hot and bothered. No, they're not going to be. They have too many players on the defensive side of the football. I think that's kind of the problem.
Here's the situation. It's as simple as this. Just go to last year. Does everyone have dementia? Like, am I in Shutter Island? Am I insane? Am I the one that thinks everyone else is crazy, but I'm actually crazy? Am I actually filming this from the inside of a insane asylum? Like, how am I editing with a straitjacket on? I don't know. Okay? But for everyone that's like, this team can't do this, this team is the worst team in the NFL, they can't have a winning season, they can't do all this, they're the worst team. Last year happened. We were 9-8. We had a winning season. We tied for the division. I'm not making that stuff up. Am I happy with 9-8? Am I happy that I lost the biggest bet of my life on their over regular season win total of 9.5? Am I happy that Josh Dobbs, walked all over the place? Am I happy that we allowed Jordan Love and the Packers to come back and win? Am I happy that Foster Moreau dropped that pass? Am I happy that I was booing the team against the Lions? No. I'm not happy we were 9-8. I'm not happy we missed the playoffs. I'm not happy all that stuff happened. But it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, you don't think some of these three-win team, 4-win team, you don't think the Carolina Panthers would have cut their arm off for 9-8? You don't think the New England Patriots would cut their arm off for 9-8? The Denver Broncos? Like, the New York Giants? I mean, Washington Commanders? Like, a lot of these teams last year were really, 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 really bad. Really bad. And were the Saints good? No. But to jump all the way to worst team in the NFL, or this team can't do this, or they can't accomplish this, or there's no way. I mean, guys, y'all realize, like, for all the people who are in the comments saying that this team cannot win the NFC South and this team cannot win with Derek Carr and Dennis Allen and they cannot do this, like, you do realize that I'm not making it up, that we did lose the division on a tiebreaker. Like, we had the same record as the team that won the division. We had a winning season. We won 9 games. So how can that have happened? And then fast forward to now, and you're sitting here saying that there's no way that what already happened can happen. Like, don't you think that's crazy? Don't you think it would be insane if right now I made a video saying there's no way a U.S. Olympic basketball team with LeBron James and Steph Curry on it, there's no way that team can win the gold? Wouldn't that be crazy because they just won the gold? They just did what you're saying that they can't do? That's insane. That's absolutely bananas. Like, that is one of those things where every time I hear it, I have to kind of look around and wonder if I'm in some kind of weird Matrix simulation. Like, there's no way the Chiefs can win a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. Hey, brother, they just did that. They did that last year. You can't say that. They already did it. And that sounds crazy, right? Like, that sounds insane. If someone got on NFL Live and said, the Chiefs can't win the Super Bowl this year because they don't have Tyreek Hill, wouldn't you be watching and say, this is the dumbest person in the universe? They just said that the Chiefs can't win the Super Bowl with Tyreek Hill, even though they just did it? That is the exact same thing as someone saying that the Saints can't have a winning season with Derek Carr. That's saying they can't win more than, 7 games with Dennis Allen, that they can't compete for the division. They already did all of it. It's already over. Like, they already did it. We got better. We're moving on. So it's starting to drive me insane hearing from random people who don't cover, and I ingest a lot of sports media. I mean, I'm talking hours and hours a day of sports media. I've been hearing a lot of people with this exact same kind of talk. Bottom 5 team, can't win more than 7 games, can't compete in the division. Same stuff as Kirk Ben Kirk saying. I mean, we just did a video where the guy bet on the Saints to have the fewest wins.
It feels mid, as the kiddos would say.
Like,
that's
is
just
mid.
what the Saints feel right now.
Which is arguably worse. And
yeah.
why you arrive at, like, they're going to be the worst because they're so boring. But
I mean, my oldest son, I remember the other day, he's like, is there any team that just feels more, 9-8 than the New Orleans Saints over the last 3 years? I'm like, no, that's where they feel. That's where they live.
yeah.
I'll tell you this. I know Jacob's a Los Angeles Chargers fan. I would be absolutely floored if the Chargers had more wins this season than the Saints. There you go. Like, teams go through situations where they're bad. Teams go through situations where they struggle or their roster isn't there. Go look at the Chargers. Go look at their roster. Their roster's terrible. Justin Herbert's in a walking boot right now. You paid that guy, $300 million. Who knows how he's going to play? You have Jim Harbaugh. Great coach. I think everyone can agree. You have an A-plus coach. You have your franchise quarterback. However you want to spin it. All that stuff is true, and the Los Angeles Chargers are probably going to be bad. The Los Angeles Chargers are probably going to be worse than the New Orleans Saints. The Los Angeles Chargers have absolutely no chance to win that division. They are not a playoff team. All that stuff is true. But no one is sitting here saying that the Los Angeles Chargers might be the worst team in the NFL. And the Los Angeles Chargers have a worse outlook than the Saints do, because the Los Angeles Chargers play the Chiefs twice in their division. They can't just win the division with 9 wins. They have to win 13 games to win the division. They got rid of all of their weapons. to pay the quarterback who potentially might not play that much. They have a brand spanking A-plus coach. Cool. He can coach them to 6 wins. But where do you hear the people saying that, man, actually the Chargers roster's complete cheeks? Outside of Justin Herbert, this team is garbage. Oh, and they have no fans. Oh, and they have the worst home field in the NFL. Now, I'm not saying that to dog on the Chargers, but I'm just saying like there are other teams out there who get praise from sports analysts or whatever that or they just get forgotten about. But for some reason, no one will put them in the category that they're putting the Saints in. It's nuts.
It's not bad enough to get a really good draft pick. It's not good enough to make the playoffs. And what do? Do you continue to kick the can down the road and do that same situation they do with the salary cap every single year? And that's going to be it. It's like, okay, 10-7, 9-8, maybe you're 8-9, because that's what they feel like. They feel like a very middle of the road kind of team and franchise right now. Now, again, they're not going to get to the bottom. Like, I think the Broncos are worse. I think the Panthers are worse.
Yes.
The Titans might.
The Titans are way worse. The Titans are worse. Off the top of my head, the Titans are worse. The Giants are worse. The Commanders are worse. We just said the Raiders. We just said the Broncos. We just said the Patriots. They're all worse. Like, just throwing random teams out there. All those teams are worse. All those teams are markedly worse.
Actually, kind of fall into that as well.
Yeah.
I think there's some other teams that would be in that category. The Patriots actually might be the answer. I mean, their ceiling might be like 6 wins.
Another thing that's driving me crazy is that people aren't factoring in like season win totals and stuff like that at all. The Patriots, their season win total is 4.5. 4.5. Last I checked, it might even be worse now. But those teams like the Patriots, the Broncos, like those teams who, the Titan, whoever, that have like the 4.5 win totals and things like that, the answers to the questions, the answers to this test are already out there of how teams are graded, how teams are projected, and things like that. It's just, I feel like everyone has these blinders on, and they're not seeing things for what they really are.
But I think that's, when you look at the Saints, that's kind of what's frustrating, is it's like, where are we going as an organization? What direction are we going? Because right now it doesn't feel like any. It feels like neutral. It feels like we are just sitting in neutral, and I think some fans want to see it one way or the other.
Well, they're in a bit of a weird spot this year in particular, because this is finally the year when Mickey decided to clean up the debts, right? This is finally the year where you're not going all in during free agency and making other moves and chasing a window that is clearly closed. And this is the plan, right? It's one of the reasons why you probably don't end up with Justin Simmons on the team. In the past, maybe you just would have gone for it, said F it, loaded it up, kick the can down the road like you've been doing. But in an effort to kind of reset the books, you've avoided that this season, and you've basically told Dennis Allen, like, look, I can come up with some creative deals to give you some help. We found a way to get Chase Young here, which I think is going to be a huge impact.
Willie Gay, Chase Young, again, like it's very obvious what's happening. Breeze and Peyton leave. Okay, you have a complete shakeup in the identity and core of this team. Loomis is figuring that out. On top of that, he's got these monster contracts from the window of trying to win with Drew Brees. So now he's got to figure out, like, okay, what do I do with Michael Thomas's contract? What do I do with this player, this player, this player? Get rid of Brees leaves, Peyton leaves, whatever. Team struggles. Not surprisingly. Winston gets hurt a couple times. We have Andy Dalton. Y'all know the drill. Team drops all the way to seven wins. 7 wins is the lowest amount of wins that the Saints have had since Sean Payton arrived. Okay, so let's just say that's the floor. They get to 7 wins. Loomis says, okay, we got to do something. We got to right the ship. We're not a tanking team. We're a team that we want to be competitive all the time. Our fans deserve that, which as a fan, you should be happy Mickey Loomis is doing. As a fan, you don't want what the Patriots are doing. You don't want what those teams are doing where they're just totally okay with having 3 wins this season, 4 wins the next season, 4 wins the next season, and then just continually sucking until they land a draft pick potentially, because as the Detroit Lions, that can go on for about 40 years. All right? So Loomis says, okay, we have 7 wins. We got to get this team better. He goes and gets Carr. He goes and gets quarterback, which, as we can see now, pretty decent value contract. Okay, he gets Carr. Immediately, we jump back up to 9-8. Loomis can check that one. He can check that box off. Make the team better. Don't let the team go into a tailspin. Goes from 7 wins to 9 wins. He understands, though, that's not good enough. So Loomis sits back and says, okay, we have to make the team better while still managing this cap situation from trying to win with Breeze. So then he says, all right, we'll do both at the same time. We'll get better. See ya, Pete Carmichael. Gone. Offensive coaching staff, gone. Brings in a whole new offensive coaching staff. Let's all just agree that's a positive. Check. Got better. Pass rush, non-existent last year. You go get Chase Young. Defense needs to be more athletic. You go get Willie Gay. Offensive line's bad. Cool. Let's use a draft pick on Talise Fuaga. Nice. Let's get another one on Kool-Aid McKinstry. Nice. So the team, he stopped the tailspin of when we were at 7 wins, brought us up to 9, still not good enough, improved the team while not breaking the bank. It's obvious of what direction the team is going. We're obviously going up. Just look at the numbers. Look at the wins. And then the same people are like, this has really turned into a full-fledged rant, but the same people are like, well, last year our offense was boring. Excuse my French. Parlez-vous français? But no shit. That's why we fired the entire offensive staff. Oh, yeah, but last year we couldn't get a pass rush. No doubt. That's why we went and got Chase Young. People are saying stuff from last year that we have fixed as a reason to why this year we're going to be bad. I've had a ton of people reach out and say, I can't watch the same offense as last year. And I always respond the same way. Good news. Good news. I guess you just awoke out of your slumber. Good news. We fired Pete Carmichael. We got rid of the entire offensive staff. So good news. You won't have to watch the same offense as last year. It's going to be, spoiler alert, completely different because it's a whole new system. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Is it just me?
But ultimately, you're going to have to make this team work. And if you don't, I'm going to be here, but you won't. And we're going to reset this thing economically, and then we're going to start kind of fresh and anew. So, but I guess where I'm getting at is that has increased. You said it felt mid. It felt uninteresting. Well, that has increased that feelings because you have an offseason where there haven't been really any moves that give you a ton of hope or that you can point to say that made you that much better. Although, again, the Chase Young thing does remain very exciting, but it's not long term. It's you're on a.
Well, unless we give him an extension, which we will, if he starts off strong and he looks good, then we will extend him and he will be long term. Right now, he's on a prove it deal, team friendly prove it deal, so he could be long term.
A little 1 year.
He's certainly much more long term than Justin Simmons. I'll tell you that.
Year partnership here. It's a summer fling of sorts, which is great, and I hope it goes all the way.
Yeah, it's like that great summer relationship that, when it started, even when it finished, it felt like it was at an 11, but you both knew that it had a time on it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. Now,
a little LFO.
Yeah. God, what did LFO stand for?
Left field, outfield. They're big baseball fans.
Nope.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it stood for. Front office seems like a bigger issue than
funky
DNA.
ones.
The light, funky ones.
I would have gone with the LFO as well.
Yeah, look, there's a larger conversation to be had about the front office versus DA. And even then, if you don't like your coach without front office, hire them, right? But again, it's like we said, we can complain and kick and thrash and weep and gnash, but Mickey Loomis ain't going anywhere.
Mickey is not. And again, why should he? Why should he? He lost Drew Brees. Really think about what happened, guys. He lost the greatest quarterback in the history of the team and the greatest coach in the history of the team back to back. As you can see with New England, that ain't easy to deal with. Then he has a multitude of injuries, the salary cap restrictions from the Super Bowl window. And even through all of that, he has righted the ship to where the Saints just had a winning season. You go look at these other franchises who they have a hard time having a winning season while paying a franchise quarterback $300 million. Trevor Lawrence is 10 games under 500 as a starting quarterback in Jacksonville. And no one is sitting here saying Jacksonville is boring. No one's sitting here saying Jacksonville is mid or Jacksonville is in the middle of mediocrity, are they? I just said Justin Herbert. The Chargers are doing everything they can just to have a winning season with Justin Herbert. The Chargers are doing everything they can to make the playoffs. Everything they can. Are they a playoff team this year? No. No one's saying they're mid. No one's saying they're boring. No one's saying they're mediocre. No one's saying they might be the worst team in the NFL. No one's saying that this owner should go or this GM should go or whatever. Owner of the Jaguars, he hired Urban Meyer. He hired Urban Meyer and handed out a $275 million contract to a quarterback who he took first overall, who currently into his career is a complete bust and is 10 games under 500. No one's telling him he should sell the team. Now, I'm not saying the Saints are perfect. I'm not saying Mickey Loomis is perfect. I'm not saying Derek Carr is a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying this team's going to win the Super Bowl. What I'm saying is people, they got to wake up. They got to set the alarm clock and wake up. Because for a team that everyone is saying is the worst team in the NFL, is mid, is boring, is could have the fewest wins, when I look around, the Saints are in a much better situation than a majority of these other teams. A majority of these other teams that people love to glaze over and over and over and over again. I have made this comparison multi-times. The Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones would have traded places with the Saints over the last 25 years in a heartbeat. Like that. Cowboys, less division championships than the Saints over the last 20 years. More than that, 25 years. Cowboys, less Super Bowl appearances and less Super Bowl wins, which isn't hard. They have 0 of both. The Cowboys, less NFC championship appearances than the Saints, which isn't hard. They have 0 over the last 25 years. But because of the Dallas Cowboys, they don't get called mid. They don't get called boring. They don't get called the worst team in the NFL. They have absolutely nothing to show for it. Nothing. Meanwhile, the Saints have been good. Lost the reason they were good. Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame coach. The Saints were allowed, one bad year? One true down year? And then immediately jump back up to 9-8. Have made signings and turned over the staff and made moves that the fans should be happy with. The media should be happy with. Had an A+ draft class, according to me, Pro Football Focus, and whoever else is grading drafts. And somehow, people who cover the team, that aren't me, that aren't the face of the franchise, are saying that the Saints are the worst. Doomsday scenario. I don't know.
So you just kind of have to accept it for what it is. That said, Kirk Ben Kirk, the Saints are not going to be the worst team in the NFL.
They're not even in the
argument
conversation
that we're having right now.
Yeah.
Hey! Don't you say that, bud?
Yeah, keep your
All right?
Kurt, keep the Saints name out your mouth.
We're going to be right there in the middle. Okay, bud?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 10-7, baby. Let's go.
You still feel that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's. I mean, what they again 9-8 last year. Mm-hmm. Their schedule looks very hard.
Rhetorical.
Their schedule looks very hard on the front end, but it actually is. We think it's easier overall. Using which is always.
No, it was definitely easier last year. The schedule is harder, but it's not that much harder. We still play in the NFC South. We still play the Giants. We still play the Commanders. We still play the Broncos. We still play the Raiders. We still play some bad teams. So, yeah, I mean, it's not
a bit flawed using last year's results.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you were 9-8 last year, I think you got better this offseason. Getting Kubiak, getting Chase Young. So yeah, I think you have a chance to go 10-7. Yeah.
No, sorry, not a chance. Not a chance. Like, where are you right now? If they said
bet on them to go,
if they said
win
T-Bob, you're going to take this month's paycheck and you're going to put it on a number for how many games the Saints are going to win.
No, I've lost the win totals. I think the last 2 years. So
no,
I would bet I don't want to say my life.
I know, but what would you
But
feel?
I would make an enormous bet. I would bet everything I own. Everything. The microphone. I'd bet the microphone. I bet it all. Camera. I bet everything that the Saints are not the worst team in the NFL this year. 100%. No doubt. If someone said, hey, I'll give you even odds, will the Saints be the worst team in the NFL this year? I'd bet it all.
Feel comfortable with this year? If you had to pick a win total, you had to put a paycheck on it, where would you live?
8.5, 9. Go 9 wins,
Yeah.
right over 8.5. If that's where the bar was, I'm not gonna bet on them to win 10 games though.
I agree. 8, 9, 10. Almost certain that the roulette ball is falling right there. Spin the wheel, it's falling in those numbers, 8, 9, or 10. It damn sure ain't falling on 3, 4, or 5.
It's also let's not go rubber band
I'm
so hard the
I'm
opposite
9.
direction.
I'm
It's
9.
like,
I'm
nah.
9. I would put my paycheck on 9 wins again.
Think about how far away 9 wins is from the worst team in the NFL. I mean, you are think about some teams that won 9 games last year. Look at those teams. Let's just do it. Let's do it right now. All right, so let's take a look. 9-win teams last year. Okay. Bengals, Jaguars, Colts, Packers, Bucks, Saints, Seahawks. Could you imagine saying any of those teams would be the worst team in the NFL? It's nuts. And the Saints had a plus 75 point differential. The Seahawks had a minus 38. The Saints point differential is better than the Packers. I mean, the group that the Saints are in, this 9-win, middle-of-the-road team, these teams aren't that bad. And you want to talk about mediocre. So look at this. I pulled this up. Look at the Chargers. All right. Chargers, since they drafted Herbert, 7-9, 9-8, 10-7, where they absolutely blew a 28-point lead in the playoffs, and 5-12. I mean, this is the definition of mid. Look at this. Look at all these years with Phillip Rivers. 9-7, 8-8, 7-9, 9-7, 9-7, 4-12, 5-11. 4-12 with Phillip Rivers. 5-11, 9-7, 12-4, 5-11, 7-9, 9-8, 10-7, 5-12. Seahawks, since Russell Wilson left, 7-10, 9-8, 9-8. And no one is sitting here being like, God, being a Seahawks fan, man, just nothing but mediocrity. Why aren't the Seahawks? Why aren't the Seahawks? Why aren't they rioting in the streets? Why aren't the Seahawks fans rioting in the streets? The Jaguars, Jesus. Since Trevor Lawrence got there, 3-14, 9-8, 9-8. Look at this, just sadness. 5-11, 7-9, 8-8, 5-11, 2-14, 4-12, 3-13, 5-11, 3-13, 10-6, 5-11, 6-10, 1-15, 3-14. Ladies and gentlemen, you think what the Saints are going through is bad, and people say, I want to just tank. I want to tank because if we tank, we'll get it fixed like that. If we tank, we'll get it changed. Look at what the hell happened to Jacksonville. So they go 7-9, 8, or they go 5-11, 7-9, 8-8, 5-11, 2-14, 4-12. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons without a winning season, and all but one or all but 2 under 5 wins, 5 or under. And then they draft their franchise quarterback, Blake Bortles, I believe 3rd overall. So the tanking will stop, right? Everyone wants to tank to draft a quarterback. And we're going to totally skip over that Blaine Gabbert was like a 10th overall pick. But they draft Blake Bortles 3rd overall. All right, so right here after the 4-12 year. So they go 5-11, 2-14, 4-12. Top 3 pick, Blake Bortles. Tank, that's what you want. Immediately 3-13, then 5-11, then 3-13. Damn, looks like tanking doesn't exactly save anything. Don't worry. Then he gets to 10-6. Right back down to 5-11. Then 6-10. then 1-15. Don't worry, we'll draft our franchise quarterback first overall. That'll stop the tanking, right? 3-14 with Trevor Lawrence, the Urban Meyer debacle. The point is, what you are asking the Saints to do, or what people are asking the Saints to do, this is what it can turn into. And this is with 3 quarterbacks drafted in the top 15 picks, with Blaine Gabbert, Bortles. This is 2 quarterbacks drafted in the top 5 with Bortles and Lawrence. And this is what it gets you. Since Bortles got there in 2014, so almost 10 years, this is what it can get you. This is what a decade of this can look like. Is this what you want? Is this it? What about this? You want this? This is with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Phillip Rivers, and Justin Herbert, who people think is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You want this? Because this is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. And people are saying Mickey Loomis is this, and the Saints are that, and the front office is this, and woe is me, Saints fans. I'm sick of hearing it. Look at these records. With Hall of Famer Phillip Rivers. Think about the talent on this team. Antonio Gates, Keenan Allen, some studs. Mike Williams, these are good players. Austin Eckler, LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers. The defenses were good. And you get, in the last 10 years, you get 2 seasons with more than 10 seasons of double-digit wins. And a whole bunch of 4s and 5s and 7s and whatever else. The Seahawks are just kind of in the downturn. Wilson's only been gone for 3 seasons, and they just got a new head coach, so we'll see. But what some fans think they want can turn into what Jacksonville's been going through and what the Chargers have been going through, is where it ain't that easy to just draft a quarterback, tank, suck, get a high pick, turn things around. It ain't that easy. You can even have a team full of Hall of Famers. LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Famer. Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer. Antonio Gates, Hall of Famer. Keenan Allen, who knows, but really good player. Mike Williams, really good player. Keenan Allen, very, very good player. Their defenses at times were absolutely stacked. And it can turn into this. Winning ain't easy. Keeping the ship on the course, not easy. And yet the Saints have done it. You want to look at a bad team? Go look at point differential. The Washington Commanders last year were minus 189. They lost the last 8 games. They were 0-6 in the division, 2-10 in the conference. They lost every single home game except 1. You think Commanders fans would call the Saints fans, or what the Saints did, you think they would call that hard to watch, boring? Or do you think this was worse to watch? If you're a season ticket holder, going to 8 games and watching them lose 7 of them. Watching them have a point differential of almost under 200. And then you turn around and you look at what the Saints did, and it's like, well, yeah, actually. But the Saints were so boring. Saints scored 402 points. The Giants scored 266. The Giants had 6 wins last year. They scored 266 points. They lost Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones is there. How many people are saying the Giants might be the worst team in the NFL? Would y'all rather be the Saints or the Giants? I would certainly rather be the Saints. 100%. Patriots scored 236 points. Same thing. They went 1-8 at home. 1-8 at home, won 4 games, scored 236 points, and got worse. And you got people honestly saying that a 9-8 team who scored over 400 points, who won their last 2 games, won whatever it was, 4 out of the last 5, and had a positive point differential of plus 75. The Saints scored 2 points less than the Rams. How many people are saying the Rams are boring? How many people are saying the Rams are mediocre or the Rams are mid? I mean, I just don't get it. I really don't. I just don't get it. I think when you look at this stuff, like, I think it makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense. And everyone is on the other side, seemingly.
That's kind of what we're talking about. It's not great, certainly not bad. It's okay. And I think there's some Saints fans that, obviously a lot of Saints fans want to see more. They want to see more signings, more trades, more whatever. But I think there's like a fraction of the fan base that's probably like, hey, can we either be bad and get a really good draft pick and get the quarterback of the future, or can we do something different?
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, can we be bad and get the quarterback of the future 3 times? I feel like Vanna White. Having trouble looking at there it is. Right there. That's it. This is, hey, can we be bad and get the quarterback of the future? That's it right there. How's that look to y'all? Y'all like that? Is this what you want? Is this what you want right here? Is this it? How's that look? I want to be bad, and I want to draft the quarterback of the future. Damn, that's a whole lot of 3s and 4s. Where's the quarterback of the future? Actually, we messed up. Let's draft the quarterback of the future again. Wait, we're still not winning. Why are we still winning 5 of 6 games? We drafted the quarterback of the future. Okay, let's draft the quarterback of the future for the 3rd time. Wait, we still haven't won 10 games. Wait. But we drafted the next big thing. We drafted number 1 overall pick. We had the pick of the draft. He won national championships. He beat Alabama. Well, do y'all want to try and pick another one? Wait, we just signed him to $300 million. What are we doing? This is it.
And like, they would be okay if it led to the Saints getting Carson Beck or whoever.
Yeah, Carson Beck's so boring. He's good, but like,
he's boring. He got leg tats. Can't be boring when you got leg tats.
You don't mistake activity for what did Brian Kelly said?
Why is he boring though?
I mean,
he had a mock turtleneck at media days, kind of a different look for him.
I'm not saying that
Carson Beck's the Georgia quarterback. He is sweet.
He doesn't maybe like, I don't know what he wears. I'm just saying, has Carson Beck ever done anything where you're like, whoa, that dude's entertaining and charismatic?
Carson Beck's awesome. Yes.
He's very good. He's very good. What did Kelly say? Don't mistake activity for what?
Well, who else are you comparing? Like, who's cool in the
for
quarterback
achievement
class?
In this year's quarterback class
that you're thinking of?
No, I mean, I think it's
because if I'm the Saints and Carson Beck's there in next year's draft, I'm pulling my hamstring, turning the card into the commish.
Because he's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
football.
Yeah,
he's probably gonna be the 1st overall pick.
Yes,
yeah,
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Would you rather does Derek Carr move the needle for you?
No, he's boring.
Okay,
too.
I was about to say, like,
I want Jameis Winston.
Well, I mean, I think
sometimes to go forward, you got to go back.
He's a good in between.
Sometimes you go forward, you got to go back. Wow, just.
Man, well, this was a rant and a half. I was expecting this to be a pretty quick video. It was not. Ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. I got a feeling we're going to be talking about a whole lot down there. If you made it to the end of the video, also tell me that. I mean, anytime I bust out these big, long, hour-long hitters, I always want to know who made it to the end of the video. So definitely shout that out if you did. I mean, this has to make sense. There's no way after this video you could possibly sit there and say, you know what? Even after all that you just showed me, I still want to tank. There's no way after this video you can say, you know what, after all that you've just showed me, I think we will be the worst team in the NFL. Or, you know what, I still think there's no way that Derek Carr and Dennis Allen can compete in this division. No way. So hopefully this puts the on all that. Thank you for T-Bob and Jacob Hester for being the voices of reasons along with me. Get down in the comments below. I will be all over the place in there. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Per usual, always. You could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here with me. I do appreciate that. I will see you in the next video.